Wanna talk? So let's talk. Yeah. Talk. You wanna talk? You gotta talk, you need to talk. News talk.
I talk, you talk to Solomon. I talk, you talk to Solomon. Yeah, let's talk to Solomon. Talk to Solomon.
You gotta talk.
Welcome, my friends. It's Talk to Solomon. My name is Stan Solomon. I'm the host.
I'm the co-host, Chief Steve.
Former Police Chief Steve Davis, also co-hosting and shortly starting his own radio show. Greg Howard from the great state of Alabama. Greg, again, tell us when your show will be.
My show is every Thursday night on Conservative Report on Blog Talk Radio, 6 p.m. Eastern to 8 p.m. Eastern.
6 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Blog Talk Radio. And, of course, our guest of honor, Major General Jerry Curry, an American patriot and a pretty nice guy for a Southerner. General, a Chinese general whose name I don't know, told his troops, prepare for war with Japan. Now, those are pretty ominous words from a crazed nation like China, with a huge military against a nation, frankly, that doesn't have a military, Japan, but Japan does have a treaty with the United States to say any attack on Japan is an attack on the United States. Am I right or wrong?
You're right.
So tell me, what should our president, what should our military, what should our leaders in the Congress be doing based on that statement?
First of all, Japan does have a military force. It is by constitution not a military force. It's a civilian security force. But that civilian security force has tanks, it has airplanes, it has jet fighters, for example. It's not a large force, but they do have the rudiments of a military force, and it's well trained. I have worked with some of their officers, and they do a very, very good job. So I just pass that on the side. As to what to do, there's no way of telling what you need to do with the Chinese. They have talked about war before. They have rattled the saber before. I have no way of knowing whether these people are serious or not serious. I think I'd pay much more attention to them if the Communist Party said war or if the government said war. But as far as a general saying war over there, I don't even know what that means.
Steve?
Well, this is why we in particular, the United States, should always have a big, strong military. So always prepared to defend ourselves and prepared to go into action if we need to. The idea of the Obama administration to cut our military is just a way of saying we're going to open the United States up for an attack from anybody, and our friends too.
Greg?
Well, anytime a nation like China starts to flex its muscles like that against one of our allies, it has got to be of concern. And, of course, the vacuum was created by a weakness in our own presidency. The world understands strength, and we've had precious little of it exhibited in the Oval Office around the world. Everybody looks at Obama, they see a weak leader, they see a man who's indecisive. Just the question of whether or not to raise troop levels in Afghanistan took weeks and months for him to make a decision. I'm sure that anyone who wants to take advantage of weakness is looking at this situation and going, now's our chance. And I think that they'll get precious little, if any, resistance from this White House.
I agree with that totally. They aren't going to get any resistance from the White House. Remember that Obama has attended only 38% of his daily intelligence briefings leading up to 9/11, leading up to the killing of our ambassador. There's just no way in the world that you can take this man seriously. He is an unserious man who seems to be more interested in going out and fishing, playing golf, and having fun than leading this nation.
All right, let's go.
Part-time president ever.
Yeah, well, I agree. And by the way, General, are you at all familiar with what is, quote unquote, if there is such a thing, the norm? Do presidents normally go to every intel briefing? Do they normally go to just periodically? How important are those intel briefings?
They're extremely important, and up to now, I can't speak 100%, but pretty close to it. Up to now, the president has been briefed every single morning in the Oval Office by the briefers. He doesn't go to a briefing. They bring the briefing to him, and they bring him a briefing book, and they do it, and that's on the first thing on his schedule every single morning.
So the idea that he's only gone to a give or take a third of these is not the norm and is or abnormal.
Absolutely abnormal. It's stupid also.
We now have two different. Now I know what Obama means in English. Stupid. All right. Speaking of stupid, an 18-year-old American named Adel Daoud. Daoud is an Arabian name, to the best of my knowledge. Was contacted by extremists, he thought, and was convinced or wanted to, become a martyr. So he was going to ignite in a suicide bombing a car filled with explosives in downtown Chicago, as I understand it. The fact is, there were no explosives in the car, but he tried to detonate it. So it wasn't that he said he was going to, he did it, except there was no it to do. I'm going to start with you, General. To me, when we have a person, in this case an American citizen, I don't know if he was naturalized or born here, I don't know. But when we have people that can buy into a concept that somehow something good will come out of you killing yourself, blowing yourself up, and blowing other people up you don't know, just because you have an opportunity to blow them up, because they don't, and they may even, because on 9/11, a lot of Muslims were killed. So your reaction to this and your thoughts as to what, if anything, we should do.
Well, my reaction to that is that this is absolute idiocy, and we go around pretending that everything is fine, and that we have just a few extremists in the Muslim world who go down this road. The answer is any of them will go down this road if they are properly led, properly taught, properly encouraged. And when I say any, I don't mean 100%, obviously. You've always got a few who are going to do the right thing, thank God. But you got the others like this one who will go out and blow up anything they want to blow up. They have no restraint. There's no decency involved in this. They aren't concerned about the little children involved who may be just walking by and get blown away. It's a very unfortunate circumstance, but I don't know how you control it. You can't shoot them all. You can't throw them all out of the country. Some of them are good Americans, but the best you can do, I think, is just simply eternal vigilance is the price that you've got to pay.
Greg?
Well, there is no question that in many cases these young Muslims are taught from the moment they're born that martyrdom is the ultimate goal or the ultimate glory. In many cases, they're taught about the members of the family that have martyred themselves. They're taught at a very young age how to handle weapons, how to make explosives. This is a part of the Muslim culture, and I won't call it a religion. It's not really a religion. It's a culture. It's a system of government. But this is exactly how they're raised, and the general is right. If any of them are led in the right direction, given the right motivation, they will go down this path. It is part of the culture. It is ingrained into them as much as it is as apple pie mom and used to be Chevrolet was for many of us Americans growing up.
Chief?
Well, Greg's right. This is a form of indoctrination, and this is an extreme version of that, but I also want to remind all of us that right now in the public schools, all of our kids are getting indoctrinated into a liberal form of life. And so where many parents think their kids are going off to school, public school, and learning, the ABCs and arithmetic, that's not happening. They're learning how to go on strike. They're learning how to hate America. They're learning how to be liberals. And so the milder version of this is Occupy Wall Street. That's what our schools are indoctrinating our kids with, as like this Islamic world teaching their kids to go up and blow up other people in the world. But it's forms of indoctrination, and we need to realize that if we want to change this, we've got to control the indoctrination. That's the answer to this.
Well said, Chief.
Let me add another perspective and get everyone's comment on it. This is a novel concept. Why don't we tell the truth? Why don't we start broadcasting pictures of blown up people and say, hey, here's your paradise, moron. Your testicles are now firmly placed in your nose, which has been disconnected from your head. Why don't we talk about the quality and the quantity of quality or lack thereof in the entire Muslim world? Why don't we talk about there's never been a country that voluntarily became Muslim that ever had any option to do anything else? Why don't we talk about the way women are treated and children are treated and young boys are treated by with all this talk about homosexuality? Homosexuality is rampant among quote unquote Muslim men with children. Let's talk about slavery. Let's talk about the lack of a life. Let's talk about the lack of opportunity. Let's talk about the fact that Muhammad was a moron.
And
why don't we tell the truth?
And a pedophile.
And a pedophile.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, he's emulated millions of times in the Muslim world. Millions of Muslim kids are taken advantage of. Millions of Muslim women are beaten and raped and killed. Why don't we tell the truth? And Hillary, who has the look of a horse's butt, you may be disgusted by the truth, but a lot of those Muslims, if they knew the truth, wouldn't buy in to this, Bull Pelosi. General.
Well, I got to tell you, I think that we should tell them the truth. I don't see why not. I think they ought to be told. They ought to be informed. We ought to be listening into their mosques, for example, and see what's being taught, and we ought to expose it, lay it out on the countertop so everybody in America can see what is going on behind the doors of these mosques all over the country. This is bad stuff. It needs to be laid out there for the American people to see, and somebody needs to get a grip on it.
Greg?
Well, on top of that, we've spent millions of dollars renovating mosques around the world, outfitting them with communications and internet technology. And here in the United States, there's every reason to believe that the mosques are linked by a single communication system, that they are madrasas, they are weapons storehouses, and that in essence they are basically armories and arsenals of a revolution or an insurrection, as whichever the case it may turn out to be. The general understands that there is a difference between the two, and so I believe that we do need to start keeping an eye on this, because with this going on in the Middle East, and then we saw 2 recent threats at our universities, I believe that there is going to come a time in the not-too-distant future that we're going to start seeing some problems with the Muslims here in the United States, and we darn well better be ready. And I hope law enforcement has been keeping tabs, because it seems the only protected religion in the United States anymore, the only one that truly seems to be allowed in so-called First Amendment rights right now, is the Muslim religion, and everybody else is under fire from the government, but they seem to have a free hand to do whatever they want, and they're getting government dollars to do it.
Chief?
And we need to be very, very clear that this is not a religion, that it is a way of life, it is a government, and that's all it is. And it is cloaked in religion, but it is not a religion.
Chief?
Well, the law enforcement is going to be way behind the power curve with this one, because they're not given the information. And also, when something goes wrong, if the Muslims create some type of a catastrophe here, the police will be at odds as to what to say or do about it, because they're going, as Greg pointed out, the only religion right now getting some type of a pass on this are the Muslims. So they're going to be at a big disadvantage when that happens.
It came out that in England there were large numbers of Muslim men that were literally kidnapping non-Muslim girls, young girls, and then turning them into whores. But not whores for money, whores for Muslim men's pleasure. And their feeling was that infidels have no other purpose, so you may as well use them. And the police, even though they knew they were doing it, wouldn't investigate because they didn't want to be called, Islamophobes or whatever name they came up with. And it went on for years, until finally it broke and they arrested some of these people. But here's the bottom line. Now, this is Stan Solomon, not the management of this company, not anyone else on this show. There is no such thing. There is no such thing as a Muslim who is moral by American standards. It's not possible. You can't be a Muslim and be an American. You can be in America, but you can't be an American because it's against the Muslim teachings. If you're a quote-unquote Muslim, religious Muslim, then you believe in the things that Muhammad and his disciples have taught. And those are not only un-American, they're anti-American. General?
I got to think about that one. Boy, you took a giant step there. There's a lot of logic in that, but I'm not ready to declare myself. If you ask me 2 weeks from now, I'll be happy to do it.
Well, we'll talk about it in 2 weeks. Greg?
Well, there are significant numbers of teaching in Sharia law that are contrary to American law. First of all, the second place status of women, the idea of treating women as chattel property, these pleasure marriages that you talked about in England, the dimitude, servitude of women to service the needs of men in that regard. The punishments under Islamic law are cruel and unusual punishment contrary to our Constitution. There are so many, the absolute refusal to allow any other faith but one is contrary to our First Amendment as well. They have no respect for the Fourth Amendment in Islamic nations. There is no bar under the Fifth Amendment to self-incrimination. It is very much a Spanish Inquisition type questioning when you're picked up by police in Islamic nations. There is no... So I agree. Under Islamic Sharia law, it is completely incompatible with law under our U.S. Constitution and our American way of justice and our American system. One can be... I don't know if I'd go as far as to say you cannot be American, but there is no way you can subscribe to Muslim beliefs and hold Sharia law as valid and still believe in the Constitution of the United States. I will go there with you, Stan.
Chief.
Well, again, if you're wondering why the Democrats are so lovey-dovey with the Muslims, it's because the Muslims hate America. The Democrats hate America. That's what they have in common. Even though the Muslims would destroy the Democrats if they ever took over, they'd kill them all. That's why the Muslims right now have a pass on the First Amendment and no one else does. That's why the Muslims have a pass at the airport and no one else does. Because the Democrats who are in power hate America, and so do the Muslims.
Now, I'm going to tie this show down for this time with the General with some discussion of Occupy Wall Street. Occupy Wall Street, which was a collection of ne'er-do-wells from various and sundry groups that the media did their very best to make into something, never amounted to anything. And now they are totally irrelevant. Their idea of doing something is to block traffic. They don't know why they're there. They can't turn their backs on them, on their own quote-unquote brethren and sistren, because they're going to get groped or raped. They're a collection of people that just don't like America. I'm, if you will, piggybacking on what the chief has said. I don't believe there's any difference between Occupy Wall Street and Muslims and communists and anarchists and those who are, certifiably insane. They all are against the principles, the Judeo-Christian principles upon which this country was based, upon which our Constitution was structured, and you cannot be a part of those groups and be for those things that make America America. I'll again head it back to the general.
Oh, listen, I agree with you 1,000%. There's no question in my mind. Everything you've said, amen to that. These are baddies. These are bad actors. They're bad characters. They're evil people. They've got bad thoughts in mind. They do not have the best interest of the United States at heart. And I think that anything that we can do to get rid of them, we need to do it.
Well, I suggest that we brainwash them by jumping on their enema bag. Greg.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, there's no question that we cannot be compatible as American society with Sharia law. And at this point, we are going to have to make a decision in America. Are we going to tolerate a Muslim in the White House? If we're going to continue to tolerate a Muslim in the White House and his support for Muslims overseas, tearing down our embassies, shooting our troops at dinner in Afghanistan, etc., then I think we are going to have a very rough next 4 years. So with that, I'm hoping that America will do as I'm doing and doing everything in their power to get rid of this man in November. That's all I've got to say on the subject.
All right, well, thank you, Greg. General, thank you. A final comment, sir.
Final comment is, God bless America.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Amen. And from your mouth to God's ear. We'll be back, folks, with Ambassador Alan Keyes in just a moment. Stay tuned. Do you have a cell phone? I do. In fact, everyone I know does. There's only one problem with cell phones. They're too damn high. You remember that guy. With me is Ted Williams, one of America's experts on cell phones, and a guy who's been responsible, along with his company, for hundreds of thousands of people saving money on cell phones. Ted, thank you for joining us. Talk to us.
Well, I tell you, Stan, right now, every dollar a person can save is a dollar earned. I'm telling you, in this economy, the price of gas and the unsure situation with employment, our business is tailor-made, and our cell phone packages are tailor-made to help everyone out.
All right, let's state a few facts. Unlimited service isn't unlimited service anymore, right or wrong?
It's right for a lot of the big carriers that you're familiar with, but our company has got truly unlimited talk, text, and web. We don't slow speeds down. We don't charge you after 1 or 2 gigabytes. It's truly unlimited, running on a nationwide network with roaming options if people want it.
And to get unlimited service, which many people use today in their business, you're going to spend $120, $130, $140. How do you compare?
We've got plans that start at $20 with rollover minutes, and our truly unlimited talk, text, and web plan is $59 a month. Again, no limits on the data, and the exciting thing is you can earn, as a customer, you can earn free service by simply referring a few customers to us. That earns you free service potentially for the rest of your life.
Now, let me make sure I'm hearing this correctly. Without paying money, without being in the business, simply if you're a customer, at whatever the customer costs are, and I assume there are no deposits or that type of thing, that if you refer a few friends and they get service, you can earn free service for yourself?
Absolutely. It's, as you said, no contract, no deposit, no credit check. And we have many payment options. They can be auto billed, auto debited, phone in and make your payment over the phone, or a lot of options on how to pay the bill. But truly unlimited talk, text, and web available to you for $59 a month, and if you refer a few friends, totally free.
Now, 2 other questions. You said roaming is an option. How much does it cost?
If you have unlimited nationwide roaming, it would be an additional $20 if you
So
if
you're,
you need
you're
it.
still
But-
only $79.
Correct. But you may not need it because we are on the nationwide network.
Okay. And the second thing is, do you only have dial-up phones that you have to carry in a suitcase, or do you actually have the latest and greatest Droid phones?
We have Android phones are the hottest selling items right now on our site, but we also cater to those people that all they have a need for is a simple flip phone. So you can go from, you know, from the top of the line phone to a free phone.
And are you competitive on those prices?
Absolutely. The phones, most people don't realize this, but the phone prices you hear on television are tied into contracts. We don't have a contract. So our phone, you buy it, you own it, and you pay the real price. The way you can find out how competitive it is simply ask any of those big 3 or 4 companies, what is the price of the phone if I don't have to sign a contract? And they'll tell you many of those Android phones are $400.
There you go. All right, folks, you can get more information by dialing 1-800-299-8362, or just go to cpnlive.com and click on the icon that says Get Free Phone Service. Free. Free. I can afford free. Can you?
Free is good.
Thanks.